People are joking about it like it's a meme. The male loneliness epidemic. Men are cooked. Just go to therapy. Touch grass. But underneath the jokes, something structural is happening. Something that will reshape society, whether anyone wants to admit it or not. Millions of men are vanishing. Not disappearing physically, disappearing socially, quietly stepping out of the visible world, opting out of dating, opting out of friendships, opting out of ambition, opting out of community. You don't see them in public spaces the way you used to. They're not building, not competing, not participating, not trying, not because they're all lazy, but because something inside them switched off. And if you're honest, you've either watched this happen to someone you know, or you've felt it happen inside yourself. The slow retreat starts small. You stop initiating conversations because it feels pointless. You stop pursuing relationships because the risk feels higher than the reward. You stop caring about being impressive because it never seemed to translate into respect anyway. You go to work, you do what's required, and then you disappear into the one place that doesn't demand anything, the screen. The screen doesn't judge. It doesn't reject. It doesn't humiliate. It doesn't require courage. It gives you stimulation without effort, connection without vulnerability, achievement without competence. And over time, that becomes the default life, a quiet loop of numb comfort that looks like freedom but functions like sedation. And the worst part is that society keeps misreading this as weakness, as if men are simply fragile now, as if they lost their toughness, as if they need a pep talk and a cold shower. But that diagnosis is shallow. What's happening isn't just emotional, it's systemic. Men are vanishing because the incentives, meaning, and role structure that used to pull them into society have collapsed or turned hostile, confusing, and impossible to navigate. A man doesn't disappear because he hates life. He disappears because he stops believing there's a place for him in it. And when men withdraw, the damage doesn't stay personal. It doesn't stay contained inside bedrooms and browser histories. It spreads outward like smoke, into families where fewer men commit, into economies where fewer men strive, into communities where fewer men lead, build, mentor, protect, into politics where resentment festers, into crime where bored, purposeless energy finds the wrong outlet, into mental health where depression hides behind silence until it turns lethal. You can mock that, but the consequences don't care. Because a society full of disengaged men is not stable. It's a society with fewer fathers, fewer builders, fewer grounded friendships, fewer anchors. And when too many men stop participating, the entire social fabric thins out. The system becomes more brittle, more polarized, more desperate. So the real question isn't, why are men so weak now? The real question is far darker. What exactly are men retreating from, and what are they retreating into? When I say men are vanishing, I don't mean they've stopped existing. I mean they've stopped participating. They're still alive, still paying bills, still scrolling, still showing up to work when they have to. But they're disengaging from the arenas that used to bind men to society: romance, friendships, community, ambition, responsibility, leadership, and long-term building. It's the difference between being present and being involved. A man can be in the room and still be gone. Historically, most men built identity through three things: competence, contribution, and status. Not status as vanity, but status as proof. Proof that you can handle pressure. Proof that you can create value. Proof that you can protect, provide, build, lead, or at least carry your weight. Even if life was hard, there was a path: work, skill, respect, purpose, you could earn a place. Now look at what modern life offers many men instead. It offers low-skill dopamine, pleasure without effort, winning without risk, comfort without pride. Porn, endless gaming, feeds designed like slot machines, and digital fantasies that hand you a sense of something without requiring you to become someone. And that's not just a moral issue, it's a psychological rewiring. Because meaning isn't a feeling. Meaning is the result of investment. You feel meaningful when you struggle for something real, when you improve, when you contribute, when your presence matters. Low-skill dopamine gives you the sensation of reward without the dignity of earning it. Over time, your brain learns a brutal lesson. Why try when you can escape? Then comes constant comparison, which is poison for male motivation. In the past, your competition was local. Now it's global, visible, and humiliating. A man can open his phone and instantly see stronger men, richer men, more attractive men, more confident men, men with perfect lifestyles and perfect bodies and perfect social lives. Even if it's curated, the nervous system doesn't care. It registers, you are behind. And when a man feels permanently behind, he eventually stops playing. This is where humiliation cycles begin. You try, you fail, you get mocked, you attempt to date, you get rejected, you attempt to build a career, you get ignored. You attempt to speak, you get labeled. Every failure becomes public because the internet records it, amplifies it, turns it into content. And if you don't have mentors, brotherhood, or a stable identity, those small humiliations accumulate into one deep conclusion: I'm not respected here. That conclusion kills motivation faster than laziness ever could. On top of that, masculinity in modern culture is trapped in a double bind. In some spaces, it's shamed. In others, it's reduced to performance. You're told to be strong, but not too strong. Confident, but not intimidating. Assertive, but not threatening. Provider, but also emotionally perfect. Traditional when it benefits others, modern when it benefits others. And if you fail to navigate the contradictions, you're either dismissed as weak or condemned as toxic. So many men respond the same way any nervous system responds to a no-win environment: withdrawal. Because withdrawal is safer than playing a game where the rules keep changing and the punishments feel permanent. And here's the deeper point most people miss. A lot of men don't collapse because they can't work. They collapse because they can't see a worthwhile reason to. They don't feel needed. They don't feel respected. They don't feel like their effort leads anywhere meaningful. So they stop investing. Not in a dramatic way, in a slow, quiet way. They do the minimum. They numb out. They disappear into stimulation and call it peace. Because peace without purpose is easier than purpose without hope. This is why shaming men doesn't work. It's like yelling at a starving person for lacking energy. The issue isn't laziness. It's starvation of meaning, of dignity, of a clear path to earned respect. And now, the uncomfortable suspense. If meaning is the oxygen, what are the modern meaning killers, suffocating men every day without them even noticing? The disappearance of men isn't caused by one thing. It's a system of forces that work together like gears. And once those gears start turning, a man doesn't decide to vanish. He drifts. He gets sedated. He stops fighting for his own life because the rewards feel fake and the costs feel humiliating. There are three engines driving this, and if you understand them, you'll stop blaming men for being lazy and start seeing the trap for what it is. The first engine is the dopamine trap. This is the quiet killer because it doesn't look like suffering at first. It looks like relaxation. A guy finishes work, goes home, and disappears into porn, gaming, scrolling, highlights, fantasy worlds, endless novelty. His bills are paid, he's fine, he's not causing trouble. But inside, his ambition is rotting. Because dopamine is not pleasure, dopamine is pursuit. It's the fuel that makes you chase goals, build skills, endure discomfort. When you flood that system with effortless reward, you train your brain to prefer stimulation over meaning. You don't have to earn anything. You don't have to risk rejection. You don't have to improve. You just click and receive. Over time, the real world starts to feel dull. Real work feels heavy. Real relationships feel complicated. Real goals feel slow. The brain, trained on instant reward, loses patience for reality. And then men call it depression, but it's often something more specific. Their reward system has been hijacked. They don't lack discipline, they lack appetite for slow achievement because the system has been replaced by cheap intensity. This is why a man can look normal on the outside and still feel dead inside. He's consuming the simulation of a life while his actual life becomes a waiting room. The second engine is the status collapse. Men are deeply sensitive to status, not because they're shallow, but because status signals value in a hierarchy. It tells you where you stand, whether your effort matters, whether you're respected, whether you have a future. Historically, a man could climb a ladder through competence. Now, many men feel like the ladder is either gone or rigged, and the comparison is brutal. Imagine a young guy applying for jobs and getting rejection after rejection. He's told to work on himself, but every attempt feels invisible. Then he opens a dating app and gets no matches. Or he gets one match, says one wrong thing, and gets mocked or ghosted. He goes online and sees guys his age, driving better cars, traveling, lifting heavier, making money faster, living like they're winning. He knows it's curated, but his nervous system doesn't care. It feels like he's losing. Now add one more ingredient. Everything is public. Failure used to be private. Now it's broadcast. A bad moment becomes a screenshot. A mistake becomes a meme. And if a man's identity is fragile, he will avoid arenas where he can be publicly ranked and humiliated. That's not weakness, that's self-preservation. So he stops competing, he stops approaching, he stops trying. He calls it peace, but it's really surrender. Not because he hates the game, but because he no longer believes he can win a game that feels stacked against him. The third engine, and this one might be the most dangerous, is the social trust breakdown. Men used to have brotherhood, not perfect, but real. They had teams, crews, unions, faith communities, rites of passage, older men who corrected them, challenged them, and initiated them into adulthood. Now, many men have none of that. They have friends they game with, co-workers they small talk with, and a world that tells them to be emotionally open while offering no safe structure to do it. Male friendships weaken, and isolation gets rebranded as independence. A man stops calling people because he doesn't want to look needy. He stops opening up because he doesn't trust that vulnerability will be respected. In workplaces, he watches social landmines form, say the wrong thing, be labeled. In relationships, he feels like the rules are unclear and the punishments are heavy, so he becomes cautious. Then cautious becomes detached, then detached becomes alone. And once a man is alone long enough, he stops believing anyone would notice if he disappeared. That's when withdrawal becomes permanent. Here's the connecting theme. Men don't vanish because they hate society. They vanish because society offers escape without purpose and punishment without guidance. It gives them easy stimulation, but no meaningful path. It shames them for being lost, but doesn't initiate them into direction. It tells them to be better, but it doesn't show them how to rebuild dignity when they fail. So they retreat to the places that don't judge them: screens, fantasy, numb routines, and low-risk solitude. That's why shaming men back into participation will never work. Shame doesn't create purpose. Shame creates hiding. If you want men to return, you don't need louder lectures. You need to rebuild the pathway to meaning, competence, brotherhood, responsibility, and a life that feels worth the suffering it demands. If a man is going to return, he has to return for the right reason. Not to prove people wrong, not to win approval, not to chase validation like a hungry dog, because that path leads straight to bitterness. The re-entry strategy has to be about meaning, about building a life that feels worth inhabiting. Start with the obvious poison: cut cheap dopamine. Pick your main escape: porn, endless gaming, doom scrolling, gambling-style apps, and reduce it by 50% this week. Not because pleasure is evil, but because the current ratio is killing your ambition. When stimulation becomes your default, real life feels like a chore. You don't need to quit everything overnight. You need to break the trance long enough to feel your own hunger for something real again. Next, rebuild competence. Meaning is built from capability. Choose one hard skill that increases your real-world value: trade, coding, sales, writing, business, anything concrete, and commit to it daily, even if it's only 30 minutes. Then pair it with one physical discipline: lift, run, fight, train, something that forces your nervous system to confront discomfort. A man regains dignity when he proves to himself, repeatedly, that he can do hard things on command. Then rebuild brotherhood. Most men don't need more self-care. They need structure and other men. One weekly in-person community: gym, sport, martial arts, a craft group, volunteering, church. A place where you're seen and held to a standard. Online connection doesn't count. Your body needs real presence. Brotherhood is the antidote to the silent spiral. Then rebuild purpose through service, not status. Status is fragile. Purpose is stabilizing. A man becomes dangerous to himself and others when he feels useless. Responsibility restores dignity because it gives you a reason to wake up, help a younger man, support family, build something that outlives your mood. Purpose doesn't arrive as inspiration, it's constructed through commitment. Finally, rebuild communication. If you return with resentment, you'll poison every relationship you touch. Learn truth without hostility, boundaries without hatred, confidence without contempt. You don't have to be soft, but you do have to be clean. A man who speaks clearly without bitterness is rare and powerful. Here's the hard punch. A man disappears when he stops believing he matters, and society should be terrified because abandoned men don't stay harmless forever. They either decay quietly or they explode indirectly through addiction, violence, sabotage, or self-destruction. So, choose one return ritual this week and commit publicly in the comments. One cut, one skill, one community, one responsibility. What are you retreating into, and what are you going to return to?